Do you ever feel like the eating advice has changed so much that you don't even know what's true anymore? That's because we've been fed lies and we've been consuming them for years. Today, we are debunking 7 myths perpetuated by the food industry and their lobbyists who had their profits and not our health in mind. Welcome. Thank you for being fearlessly, fabulously you. Hi, I'm Yvonne, host of Fearless and Fabulous. Let's get to the truth and reclaim our plates. Myth number 1 is breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You must not miss it. So where did this come from? In the 1920s to 1940s, a guy named Edward Bernays helped bacon and cereal companies position breakfast as essential, leveraging fear, maternal guilt, and physician endorsements to boost cereal and bacon sales. He wrote a book called Propaganda in 1928, and he has been called the father of public relations due to his influential ideas on how to shape and control the perception of the masses. And once Edward weaved his magic with PR, the cereal companies jumped on the bandwagon. Kellogg's, General Mills, they talked about how enriched their cereals were. They had to be enriched because they had no nutritional value. I actually saw a study once where they took Captain Crunch cereal, and it wasn't the cereal people that did this, it was some scientist somewhere, probably a university. They took Captain Crunch cereal and they fed it to some rats. Then they cut up the box that the cereal came in and fed it to another group of rats. And the group of rats who ate the box fared much better. We all know Tony the Tiger and Snap, Crackle, Pop, and all those fun characters that the cereal companies invented to try to market their cereals to children. And it worked. And getting back to breakfast. While some people really do feel like they need to have breakfast when they wake up in the morning, for most of us, delaying when we eat is a really smart idea. That just extends our intermittent fasting from the night before a little bit longer in the day. And that helps our body recover and rejuvenate and replenish and restore and clean out bad cells. And it can also aid in weight loss. Myth number 2 is eating fat makes you fat. That's simply not true. And this myth was perpetuated by the sugar industry. So it was Big Sugar was behind this. So they would do these marketing campaigns about low fat or no fat products. But if you looked at the label, if they even had a label then, labeling really didn't come into being until the 1990s. If you really looked at the nutritional value, it was horrible. And actually some full fat products are much, much healthier for you than their low fat counterparts because they have good nutrition in them and not sugar. The low fat craze actually led to huge increases in obesity and type 2 diabetes. Myth number 3 is that juice is healthy. Juice can actually be worse for you than sugary drinks like soda. I wouldn't recommend switching from juice to soda, but juice has a ton of sugar in it and it doesn't have the fiber that the full fruits do. So it can cause serious issues with your blood sugar. Fiber-rich whole fruit slows sugar absorption and it supports gut health and it provides long-lasting fullness, unlike juice. Also, there's no strong evidence that juice cleanses work. So don't buy one. If you want to try one on your own, go ahead, but I would not recommend it. And certainly don't buy one. They're very expensive, and even making juice on your own, if you're doing a juice cleanse, is incredibly expensive. Myth number 4 is that eggs raise your cholesterol. Eggs are so good for you, and they actually don't raise your blood cholesterol by much at all. They do have cholesterol in them, but that does not equate to making your blood have more cholesterol in it. So here's the good things about eggs. An egg has 6 grams of protein, choline, which supports brain and muscle health, B12, and lutein. Myth number 5 we kind of touched on already, but it is that low fat means healthy. Low fat does not mean healthy. If you look at the ingredients, here are some things you'll find that makes the product low fat. To replace the taste and texture, low-fat processed foods routinely add sugars, starches, emulsifiers, and gums, and this undermines their nutritional value. Full-fat plain yogurt or natural nut butter in moderation is less processed, more satisfying, and supportive of nutrient absorption than its low-fat alternative. Myth number 6 is that you need dairy to have strong bones. That is simply not true. I wonder if the dairy industry funded this. Yes, of course they did. If you look at the countries with the highest consumption of dairy, they also have the highest osteoporosis rates. Bone health depends on resistance exercise, calcium from leafy greens and nuts, magnesium, vitamin D, lifestyle, and genetics, not milk. Our bones after 50 do not need dairy, they need muscle. And probably the biggest lie we've been fed is lie number 7 that we're going to talk about today, and that's the food pyramid. The scientists, the nutritionists who developed this model were thwarted at the last minute by lobbyists who came in and changed all their numbers, all their recommendations. As an example, the panel of nutritionists and scientists initially recommended 2 to 3 servings of grains and cereals per day. That would put it closer to the top of the pyramid. However, the grain industries came in, their lobbyists came in, they lobbied heavily, and they got that number up to 6 to 11 and put it at the base of the pyramid. In addition, there had been a recommendation by the nutritional panel to not have crackers and white flour products, except very sparingly. They put it at the very top of the pyramid. And they were appalled to see that it had been put in the foundation of our dietary recommendations at the base. And initially, the nutritionists had recommended that we have 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. When the lobbyists got hold of it, in order to not have us overconsume and to make sure we were consuming what they wanted us to consume, they changed that to 2 to 3 servings. Now, within a couple of years, the National Cancer Institute came in and changed that to 5 to 7 servings. So at least it came back a little bit, but it's never what they were initially wanting it to be. The food pyramid structure aligned with subsidized grain surpluses, not optimal metabolic health for older women, many of whom thrive with fewer refined carbs, more protein, and healthy fats. These food lies shaped how we ate, but now we know better. They used to be based on what lobbyists and the food industry wanted us to consume. Now we can decide what's best for our bodies. If this video helped you question what you've been told, give it a like, subscribe. I've got more truth bombs in store. And please stay fearless and fabulous. I will see you next time.